here's Brody Brazil.
Whether you like it or not, the conversation is back again surrounding the issue with artificial turf. Now, this video mostly is about fake grass and professional sports, but it's also important that you know there's something like 12,000 fields across America alone. High schools, middle schools, elementary schools that years ago ditched real grass for the fake stuff. And for a lot of different reasons, which we'll get into, but consider that high number as we get into some of the drawbacks about artificial turf and health concerns. This is not just a video about pro athletes. It involves you, probably your family, and your community. But why are we here again having this conversation? Well, because a couple nights ago, Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles 4 snaps and 75 seconds into the Jets season. Now, wait a second. Wasn't his contract for this year $75 million of guaranteed money? Is that $1 million per second that the Jets paid Aaron Rodgers? And will he ever come back? Did we just see the last of Aaron Rodgers on that artificial turf? And honestly, what comes because of this? Will the NFL actually change their ways, their rules, their procedures? I mean, as you look at this injury close up here, I'm not going to play the video, but I think this still image tells a story here. Like an ankle twisting, an Achilles being stretched, and all that rubber infill right there, that black debris that you're very familiar with. Everybody has stepped on a fake grass field at this point. You know all of that exists in there. But my question is, with the wet weather and with this surface, did this injury happen just because of the playing surface alone? Or the surface and the conditions? Is this an injury that happened because of negligence? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know that I have the answer to that, but I'm also here to say that there might be some artificial blame. Sometimes we put things together. Well, this only happened because of that. Doesn't the NFL play games in the middle of winter where you can't even see the yard markers? They have to literally like sweep it off or take a leaf blower and blow the snow off the line so you can see the borders of the field, the sidelines, the goal line. Do you think that's safe? That slippery surface is safe? How about rain and puddles and mud on real grass surfaces? Or like they used to do, play on multi-purpose playing surfaces that had baseball infields on them. All of a sudden, you're running across grass, and then you're on dirt, and then you're back on grass again. Or how about the 100-degree plus temperatures of training camp? How healthy can that be? And 2-a-days for players. Or how about this? I mean, if we're going to just say, real grass fixes everything, well, how about every player slipping around on both teams in Super Bowl 57, this past Super Bowl of February 2023? It just goes to show you, like, you can't get this perfect every single time. You can't fix every problem in this. Injuries are going to happen. I don't know that we can always blame it on artificial turf. But there are some huge things you need to know about artificial turf. I had to do the cutaway to make the lead in here a little bit more dramatic. A 2019 study from Yale, professors and students, looked at chemical makeup of rubber tire infill and mulch. We're not talking about the grass strands and threads. We're talking about what makes it soft. It's that rubber material that they literally have to like spread in and pour in and replace every so often to give that grass cushion, to have the fibers of the grass standing up. So we don't actually have a good idea of what that's made of, where it comes from all the time. But they did some testing. They found 302 chemicals detected, which is a lot. But that's not the big part. 52 of those 302 chemicals are considered carcinogens by the EPA. Cancer-causing chemicals, 52 of 302. They're considered carcinogens by the EPA. In addition to that, 40% of the 302 are known irritants to breathing, the skin, or the eyes. So wait a second. We're talking about Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles, which I feel bad for him. But this might be the bigger issue. And granted, nobody's living their entire life on artificial turf, like 24/7, 365, sleeping on it. Nobody's ingesting not on purpose, but sometimes that might happen if you're on the ground a lot, being tackled a lot, debris, infill inside your helmet. And this is just football. How about baseball and some soccer teams play on these surfaces? This is the more important part that really nobody's talking about, and especially as it relates to kids and youth sports. But back to the pro level for a second. So much money is spent on players to keep them healthy, to keep their bodies functioning. Charter flights, luxury hotels, a medical staff strictly for the team, physical trainers to keep you in shape and maintain your health, team psychologists for the mental part of things, nutritionists for what you eat, even a masseuse at pretty much any hour, any time. Anything you need is always taken care of. So let's say that you knew turf was a bad idea for your players in the first place, which a lot of players seem to think that alone would cut down on injuries. I'm not here to go against that. I think there's deeper issues with artificial turf and that rubber infill. I should also tell you this. I've got artificial turf here at my house. It's sand infill, which maybe pro teams can't do because it's a little bit harder, doesn't have that grassy bounce necessarily to it. But there are other ways. I don't know why we haven't figured this out. Like, this is a fixable problem, at least the infill part of it. The injury part, again, if players think this is an issue, teams are willing to spend on all this, tens, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars per team for their players every single season, then why would you go with artificial turf? Why would you do this? Well, before, like I said, for a lot of schools and facilities, you get year-round use. You get a weatherproof field, like one rain and people playing on it's not going to ruin the grass for 6 months afterwards. You don't have to water anything. That's easier. That's cheaper. Also, less maintenance. Like, you don't need the whole grounds crew for artificial turf. But a lot of this, again, is for amateur facilities. We're talking about pro sports stadiums here. The real reason they go with artificial turf is because you get to host more events at multi-purpose venues. Yeah, you know that concert you want to do in between two football games, or the 2 concerts, the 3 nights of concerts, no problem. The grass is fake. Just throw the plywood over it, throw a surface on top of that. The grass doesn't have to be replaced. You just take up the boards, fluff up the grass, the fake grass again, and you're ready to go for next Sunday's game. It's a money-making thing. And a lot of times, teams own the stadiums or have complete control over the playing surface. Sometimes they don't. But this is a way for people to continue making money. Why else would any pro sports venue outdoors have artificial turf? Indoors is a different story, right? Can't keep real grass alive necessarily with a roof over it. There are ways to mitigate it. Translucent roof. Like in Arizona, they literally bring lights down there to keep the roof shut, but also give the grass some sunlight to try and grow. I don't know if it fully works. But the real reason that we're still in this turf phase is to have more events for multi-purpose venues. And so that in the case of maybe a stadium that hosts, 2 football teams, you can play every single week through the fall, through the winter, and not have any issues. More events for multi-purpose venues is the answer. But I don't know if we're going to get new standards. Like baseball, we're mostly talking here about football. Will baseball ever get away from artificial turf fields? They'd love to. I don't think any outfielder ever likes it. Infielders probably don't either. The hops you get, the grounders you get, it's just different from grass to turf. And it's hard on your feet after a baseball series where you're standing for 2.5 hours for 3 or 4 straight days, and you're not used to that, or that is your home team that plays half a season like the Blue Jays do, like the Rays do. Can baseball ever get away from this? I don't really know. Baseball doesn't really know what to do with this. They're kind of forced into it. Soccer has pretty much tried to ban artificial turf. Now, I understand that. Like, the whole game is different. Kicking a soccer ball around an artificial turf field, it plays differently. Like, literally the ball and its friction and its roll plays differently on artificial turf. A proper pitch is real grass. I just wanted to say it that way. And then lastly, football, I'm using the trending down emoji there because a lot of people in football are trying to get away from this, and for very good reason. There's some cutting in soccer. There's not much of that in baseball. It's usually straight lines. But in football, with tackling, with physical contact, you can understand why this is a bigger issue in football versus soccer or baseball. So I say the issue with artificial turf is the issue Aaron Rodgers getting hurt. I mean, yeah, to a certain degree. But that rubber mulch and rubber infill thing, we got to figure that out. You made it here to the end of the video. You know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. Also, don't forget, subscribe to this channel so I can definitely see you back here next time.